Hi guys, welcome to another audio video, and we'll be reading Daniel 1 of the King James Version Bible. And it reads, In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Jehoiakim, king of Judah, into the hand with part of the vessels of the house of God, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his God, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his God. And the king spake unto Hashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and as such had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning and the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's meat and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, that at the end thereof they might stand before the king. Now among these were the children of Judah, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names. For he gave unto Daniel the name Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and of Mishael of Meshach, and of Azariah of Abednego. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested of the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now God had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king. Then said Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat, and water to drink. Then let our countenances be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat, and as thou seest, deal with thy servants. So he consented to them in this manner, and proved them 10 days. And at the end of 10 days, their countenances appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat the portion of the king's meat. Thus Melzar took away the portion of their meat and the wine that they should drink, and gave them pulse. As for the 4 children, God gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Ananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. Therefore stood they before the king, and in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued even unto the 1st year of King Cyrus. Alright guys, so here we are basically introduced to Daniel. We are introduced to Daniel, Azariah, Ananiah, and Mishael, which were the names of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego as we all know them. That was their original name, okay? Not the name that was given to them by the Chaldeans, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Right. So we see here that they were basically at a young age, they were wise and they did not choose to defile themselves. They decide that they would stay in the way of the Lord. And also people look at things, and I mean, they look at the Daniel fast, but they seem to forget this very aspect here, the very introduction of Daniel to us, really. The fact that he and the others decided that they would not eat the meat of the king's table, and not because they would not eat meat, but the mere fact that basically it was off the king's table, it was from the king's portion, which would have been sacrificed unto the king's gods, which were the God of Israel. And I don't like to speak ahead of myself, but I think that in this case, I need to highlight this here because a lot of people tend to overlook this portion of the scriptures when they're trying to say, oh, Daniel didn't eat meat, just to say Daniel didn't eat meat. And you'll see further in the scriptures that it was said that Daniel eat meat. And mind you, the scriptures does actually refer to the fruits of the trees and whatever the trees give off as being meat. So the Bible does state that also, refer to those. And I guess that's the reason why a lot of people say that when they think of Daniel, Daniel never ate any meat from animals or anything. He just ate vegetables and the fruits of the land. So that could also be true. But from my interpretation, I would say the fact that he didn't want to eat it was not because it's just mere meat. He didn't say because it's meat we don't want to eat it, but the fact that it was from the king's portion, which was sacrificed unto the king's God. And we will come to note this further in the scriptures. All right, I don't like to go ahead, but it needed to be pointed out. Okay, so the fact here was that it was taken from the king's portion that was sacrificed and offered up to their gods as offerings. All right, so that just goes to show us how important it is, the source that we receive our food from, that we do not defile ourselves even in eating, even in the feeding of ourselves, the receiving of nutrients into our body, because we're not just physical beings, but we're spiritual beings as well. And so we need to focus on every aspect of our life. This scripture highlights the fact that we need to focus on every aspect of our life, because even the physical is related to the spiritual life. All right, so guys, I'm gonna leave that right there, but please remember to continue to walk in your salvation, and if you've not yet gained it, then seek it. There's no better time to begin than the present. Have yourselves a blessed day. Bye.